Hello everyone, welcome to Neurasapiens.
In today's tutorial, we'll continue with Python string endswith method and look at the two parameters, so end parameter, but also using tuple suffix. And this is the same string, so example string, what is your favorite programming language, from part 1 of the Python string endswith tutorial. So if you haven't had a look at that video, check that out first. Now with tuple suffix, we can actually check, right? So the last video, we checked it with a single string. Now, if a tuple is specified, then the endswith method will check if any of the items exist in the string, and also check if the item here actually ends in the string. So our first check is we can just create a variable. Here we'll call it tuple check, and this will be a check for the example string. We'll just check if it ends in this particular string. Does it end in either the word Java or the word language? And if we then print tuple check, this will return false, because we can actually see visually here in this sentence, what is your favorite programming language? It doesn't end in either of the word Java or language. So with that, that will return false. But then this is checking with 2 words. Now, there is no limitation here on the number of words that you can check. So with the function, you can actually extend it to 3 words as well. So print example string dot ends with, and then we can check, say, the word Python. Does it end in Python? Does it end in C++? Or does it end with the word HTML? And so this will also return false. So we have false so far for both examples. It doesn't end in any of these 5 words. Now, the last check is just to check, does it end with, say, the word language, but with a question mark, right? So we need to factor that in for this particular sentence. Otherwise, looking at the first example, it will return false, right? It doesn't end in language, it ends in language, but with the question mark following it. So that can then be extended as one of the options to print example string that ends with language. So this will return false. But then if we give it the option language followed by question mark, this will actually return true. And then we can just add a third option there as lang. And so this will then return false, false, and then true. So it does in fact end with a language and a question mark. So this is using a tuple suffix, in addition to the alternative where you just pass in a single string to the ends with method. Now, in addition here is, there is also an end parameter. So the start parameter was specifying the beginning position. The end parameter can be used to specify the end position of the string, but not inclusive of the value. So take, for example, here we're checking with start and end parameters, and only want to check the substring what is. So to do that, we can then specify the beginning and ending position for the string. So if we print example string dot ends with, just to check, does it end with the word programming or does it end with the word language? And then we can also specify the beginning position. So it starts at character 0 and it ends at character 6. So it doesn't include the 7 here. It's not inclusive of that value. So this is from 0 to character 6. And this will actually return and check the substring what is, and does it end with either the word programming or does it end with the word language? So if we print this, this will return false, right? It doesn't end with programming or language. And so an equivalent to this is actually, we can create a substring here. So from 0 to 7, you can see that this is a substring what is, and then just chain it here with ends with, followed by the word that you're checking for. And so in this case, it will return false for both. Of course, if we change this to a different string, where this string is what is programming, and then we check if this particular string ends with the word programming, you can then add in programming, and we'll change this to different string. Followed by the beginning character and then the ending character here. So that could just be length of different string plus 1, because we want it until the very end. And so here you have true. It returns the, so we'll add it here. So it should be part of the ends with. And so here this will return true, right? It does in fact end with programming there. Now, an alternative is using the substring approach, right? So oftentimes you may not know, or you don't want to count the number of characters. You can use the length function here. So this returns actually the number of characters in a string. So length of different string is 19 characters, but then we need a plus 1 because it's not inclusive of the last character. So if we want to include the check to include the very last character in this string, which is G, we need to add 1 there. And an alternative is to check using the question mark. So coming back to the example string, we can use starting and ending parameter to check, does it end with this string? So here we'll first start by checking the substring. So first check for the substring programming language, and then print example string that ends with programming, followed by language, and then the starting and ending position here is actually starting from 23 and then ending at character 45 there. So this, you can count it starting from 0 all the way until 45 here. So the index position for the question mark is actually 44, but 45 to be inclusive of that string as well. So this would then actually return false because it doesn't end with programming or language. And just having a look with the same check, but this time with a question mark, you'll see that this returns true because it does in fact end with a language and a question mark. And so alternative to write this is actually with the substring. So we can actually create a variable for the substring first. And we have a substring variable here and slice it at index position 23 to 45 and just have a look at the substring output. And so that's what you have, programming language, and then check if it ends with programming or ends with the word language and a question mark. And so we now print this, print substring.ends with programming or language, you'll see that this returns true. And so that's true there. It does in fact end with language for the example substring that we're working with.
If you found this tutorial helpful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe and click the notification bell for weekly videos. Please share the video with anyone who you think would benefit from the content and comment below what topics you would like to learn. If you would like to support this channel and have the means to do so, the best way will be via my Patreon link in the description below. Happy learning, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.